Winter weather forecaster Stephen Boyle. Well, I was gonna make a video the other day, or yesterday, but I'm glad I didn't because I probably would have busted a little bit, not much, but I would have busted I'm glad like I said, I'm glad I didn't because I was predicting for southern New England and some regions to pick up 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inches, which didn't really bust, but it was enough to make me a little upset. Here we got about an inch. Areas to the north picked up about 2 or 3 inches. So we got a little less than I was expecting. So I'm glad I didn't really put anything out there. But let me tell you, things are working out very well out into parts of New York. Let's just refresh this. This is the current radar imagery. And, oh yeah, let me tell you, some heavy, heavy rain. Let me tell you, this is moving right into southern New England. This, my friends, is going to be very potent. There's going to be some winds. There's already been an initial batch of rain that has already moved in. This is going to be bringing down some heavy winds. There's actually, with this, a line of thunderstorms moving through the New York City metro. Oh yeah, this is and actually there's severe thunderstorm warnings out. So this is pretty intense. And then there's some more heavy bands back out into parts of central New York. So all of this is moving east-northeast. The storm track again west of I-81, so that's working out, or excuse me, east of I-81, working out pretty well. You got some hefty snows going in through through the Rochester area. Let's zoom in a little bit here. This is some serious snow, let me tell you. Rochester and these regions, Rochester is in for over 18 inches of snow for the totals. I would even go as far as saying Batavia may even be in for that. Warsaw, New York, which I believe is somewhere in here, they're in for a good 18 to 24 inches. Jamestown, you're starting to lighten things up. I believe Pittsburgh got a good 1 or 2 inches out of all of this. And look at where all of this is going, right up into Canada. Things are warming up through all of New England, so through the day today, everything is going to be rain. So let me bring you to the first map here that I have. The other one will be a little bit after. So again, green area, generally up to 2 inches of rain with winds perhaps gusting up to 40 or 50 miles an hour at times. And then in this yellow area, this is again same situation as far as rain amounts, but you're going to be looking at winds into these areas, perhaps gusting up to 60 or maybe even 70 miles an hour. Oh yeah, this is going to be some really intense winds. There's some intense winds in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, and these heavy rains are going to just bring this right down to the surface. Notice there's some, this is what I'm thinking as far as snowfall amounts. Again, there's going to be a swath of 18 to 24 inches. I don't think there's 2 feet, but I do think that there's going to be 18 to 20 inches into some of these areas. I want to bring you back over to the radar imagery, and let's zoom in here. Notice Syracuse is raining. Yeah. And in the meantime, Rochester and even some of these areas in here, Ithaca, you're snowing. Usually what happens is where you get the heaviest bands of snow setting up, you can smell the rain. And yeah, the rain snow line is right here. I think Syracuse will finish off with a little bit of snow, maybe another inch or two. I could see a few inches, but yeah, let me tell you, this is some heavy rain. Let me tell you, moving through Utica and Rome and yeah, this is some intense stuff. And like I said, this band of rain moving through New York City right now, this is there's severe thunderstorm warnings associated with that. If we zoom in here, yeah, you got the severe thunderstorm warning, and that's out in Queens and Eastern Long Island. There's also coastal flood statements and advisories. Yeah, you got the winds really moving, pushing against the shore. This could cause some beach erosion and some problems, as like I said, as far as coastal flooding. This green area indicates flood statements. Yeah, that's because you've got some serious heavy rains moving on north and east, and again, heavy rains falling in a very short period of time. So again, this is the 500 millibar heights. This is the jet stream pattern. Notice you've got this these heavy winds. You've got a serious jet. This is like, I don't know, close to knots up at 500 millibars. So you're talking perhaps 50 to 60 mile an hour winds perhaps being brought down to the surface here. This will continue to lift north and east. So this is right now, but by the time you reach the evening, this should be north of Boston. This is the heavy snows falling back out into New York, so everything should be winding down over the next several hours there. So this storm is going to be interesting. We ended up getting about an inch or two across southern New England. We got about 1/10 of an inch of ice this morning. It was interesting because the valleys actually were colder than the higher elevations, where the higher elevations were about 50 degrees, while the lower elevations were about 20 to 30 degrees, so it was pretty interesting. So then after this moves out, our focus will shift on the weekend, and it's a very little small system. This is a little clipper system moving through. My concern is maybe you can get a good quick burst of snow into some areas. Now, it's probably going to be light for the most part, but watch out for this. Could bring a few surprises, I think, into some areas, particularly parts of southern New England. I could see quick inch or two, you know. Could be a little mixing in some areas, particularly east in New England. But I think you could get a quick couple inches in some areas, so watch out for that. Could bring a few surprises, and that's for the weekend. Then our focus shifts on to the beginning of next week, and this is what we're really going to be looking at over the course of the next week or so, is really watching a piece of energy that's going to be moving through the southeast. The question is, notice you've got a phase, you've got this phase. Right now, though, the trough is tilted positive. So if this were to stay like this, we'd be looking at the storm moving out. Okay. And notice this is from the earlier Euro model. And notice by the time it goes negative, it's a little too late. It's a little too late. The storm will be moving east of the benchmark. So you'd probably be talking about some good snows, Cape Cod, southeast of Massachusetts, east, Boston area. Probably not much once you work your way west of Worcester. But look at what, and again, notice you've got this, look at all of this energy just being pumped right into southeast of Massachusetts. You'd be getting some big thumping of snow. Perhaps maybe some moderate snow working into parts of central and western Massachusetts, but the big snows really would be confined towards central or eastern and southeastern Massachusetts, including the Cape. But here's the GFS, and this is pretty interesting. You've got your upper level low forming over the North Carolina mountains. And here's what happens. You start lifting this low right across. So you're moving this low right over the Delmarva Peninsula, and look at what happened. Basically what ends up happening is the low ends up moving right over the benchmark, and you get a big snowstorm for all of southern New England. If you looked at the model outputs for snowfall at 6Z for the GFS, it showed widespread 18 to 24 inches across most of southern New England. Again, though, that's not my forecast. And again, snowfall outputs, never look at them this far out. You want to look at the upper air pattern. But look at all of this southern stream energy just being pumped into the system. So you're going to be thumping away into the mid-Atlantic. This is what the 12Z GFS shows, and yeah, it's not as impressive. You've got a slight upper level low forming, but what ends up happening as it moves to the north and east, perhaps you get a little snow along southeastern Mass and the Cape. And then I do want to show you, though, this is the Euro ensembles. And again, you've got your southern stream energy here. You've got there is a phase, but again, the trough is tilted positive. So if this were the case, I think it would be maybe would be a little too late for parts of Virginia. Definitely the south would be a little too late, since that trough isn't negative yet. But here's what happens. It's starting to go negative, but it's still pretty positive. Okay. And then this is what ends up happening, is you end up getting your low pressure right in here, okay? But what's happening is you're just pumping all of this energy into southern New England, and you'd be thumping away throughout most of southern New England and parts of the mid-Atlantic, okay? I do want to show you what the most recent Euro is showing. So you've got your southern stream piece of energy over in here. This definitely going to be rounding the bend. The question is, does it get pushed out or does it come up? That is the major question, and that's what we have to watch out. And how far will it go? As we saw with this storm, you know, it could go up, and then you'd be talking about snow back here and maybe snow changing to rain out east. So gotta watch out for that. All of our possibilities right now are on the table. But what happens is you get this upper level low. It's rounding the bend. The trough is starting. It's still positive, but it does start going negative. And by the time it's negative, you're able to get the actual low going right over the benchmark, and you'd be talking, again, this one is a little west of the benchmark, but you'd be still talking for most of the mid-Atlantic and southern New England, and particularly areas away from the coast. According to this run of the Euro, you'd be looking at some pretty intense snows away from the coast. So but again, we have to watch what happens here. So before I go into what's going on for next week, this is what we're looking at today. Major rains, heavy winds across most of southern New England and New England in general and the mid-Atlantic. Your big snows back out into western New York. Generally, the areas that are done with snow are areas south of this line. I believe I might be a little too high into these regions, but in general, 1 to 2 inches is what I believe happened, maybe even a coating. But overall, you get the general idea. But it's mainly the area that you're mainly looking at is this region where you got the big snows. Again, because I don't really live into these areas, sometimes I can get things a little off into these regions, but overall, it was about 1 to 3 inches into these regions. But this is where the big snows are. And then the other story is the big bands of rain that are going to be moving through, and the winds. Again, along the coast, so watch out for that. This is the snow potential for next week. Anywhere in the blue area is where I'm thinking you could be getting some snow. Again, I think it would be a little too late based upon what I'm seeing right now for Southern Virginia, point south. But it's possible things change. Again, it's really early in the game, so I could see this being shunted to the south. I could see this coming up the Appalachians again, or maybe even going like this, west of I-81. I could see that. So anywhere in this region, so that would mean this whole region is in for a potential snow event next week. Okay. Now, how strong is the storm and all of this stuff? Again, I'm saying in general next week. I'm not putting a time frame because some models hold back on the energy. So what's ending up happening is you get it later in the week, or perhaps even close to the following week. So we'll have to see what happens. But right now, a lot of the models are suggesting beginning to middle of the week, but we'll see what happens. But in general, that's what's going on. Really interesting stuff today, and it's going to get interesting next week. But like I said, you want to watch out. There could be some surprises this weekend into some areas of New England. Perhaps a couple inches. So watch out for that. These little guys can really bring some surprises. We'll finish off on the radar. That is just impressive. I mean, this is impressive stuff. Moving through the Bronx right now, just about ready to enter into parts of western Connecticut. Gonna get some more hefty rains moving into western Mass. And then you got the intense rains back out into Utica, New York. It's very impressive stuff. So stay safe. Batten down the hatches. Make sure that everything's tied down. Hold on to your hats. Get the rain ponchos out, and stay dry. And if you live out into the Rochester area, get the snow blowers ready. You probably already have them ready. Take care, everyone, and I'll be back sometime before the end of the week. Take care.